How's it going, everyone? Um, so after I beat Wasteland 3 and while waiting for, new patches for that game to come out, I spent like the second half of my whole Game Pass, which is expiring really soon, like tomorrow. I only bought a month. I played some games that have recently come out this year in the last couple of weeks. The first I played was Battletoads, and then I played Carrion and Tell Me Why and Hotshot Racing. Kind of a lot of variety there. I would just like to talk about a few of these games for a little bit, give my thoughts on them, and yeah, cover them, I guess. So the first game I want to talk about is Battletoads. It's a reboot of the original that came out on the NES in, I think it was like 1990, 91. The original Battletoads was notoriously difficult for its platforming, and it's one of the hardest games ever made. Battletoads Reboot isn't as hard, obviously, but basically it's an okay reboot. It's really faithful. It is pretty challenging without being like dauntingly or absurdly cheap, except for a couple places here and there. It's also got a lot of humor in its story, its characters. There's actually a lot of level variety in it. Like, one minute you'll be playing a beat 'em up game, and then the next minute you'll be playing like a racing or a chase sequence, or like some weird mini game. There's a lot of gameplay variety, but the gameplay itself didn't really impress me in any way. The gameplay itself is just kind of generic at best. The beat 'em up combat feels a little on the slow and stiff side. The racing is kind of slippery, and um, it's got platforming too. That's okay. That's probably my favorite part about the game is like the platforming levels and figuring out the puzzles and stuff. But yeah, aside from that, I don't know. It's okay. I guess I could consider it a faithful reboot, to the series. It has everything there that would make a Battletoads game like acceptable. It's just um I don't know. I also really don't like the new art style, you know? It's very like modern Cartoon Network. You know how a lot of Cartoon Network shows nowadays look like really awful? That's what Battletoads looks like now. It took me a little while to just kind of look past it, even more than like the new Toe Jam and Earl game that came out last year, I think. Yeah, Battletoads is okay. I now when I bought Game Pass, I only bought the regular Game Pass. I didn't buy Ultimate. Ultimate was an extra $5. I just wanted to play um Wasteland 3. Looking back, I probably should have gotten Game Pass Ultimate so that I could probably critique the co-op in Wasteland 3, which I heard was broken, but also to play, the co-op in Battletoads. I bet the co-op in that game is really good, but if I were to prefer one beat 'em up game that came out this year, it would be Streets of Rage 5, not 5, Streets of Rage 4, sorry, instead of Battletoads, um, get Streets of Rage 4. It's better. I think there's more replay value in Streets of Rage 4. Um, Battletoads, it's like 3 to 4 hours long, and there's really not much more to do in it besides try the co-op, of course. You'll probably play through the whole game in co-op anyway. Um, One good thing I do like about Battletoads, though, is that when you lose a life, you just switch over to another character in single player. So like in co-op, it's like each three players has one life, but if you're playing in single player, you have three lives. So that was generous at least. If I were to give it a score, it'd probably be like a 6 maybe for Battletoads. It's okay. It's eh. But anyway, on to Carrion. Carrion is they call it a reverse survival horror game, and what that means is you basically play as the horror. It kind of reminds me of the Ooze on Sega Genesis, and basically you spend the whole game trying to break out of a facility with lots of guards and civilians as this huge blob monstrosity, like something out of like it looks like a G virus monster from Resident Evil 2, like William Birkin in his final form or something. But yeah, as you progress in that game, you get bigger and you get more abilities, and you eat people to replenish your health. And there's plenty of puzzles. A few of the puzzles are absolute bullshit. Most of the puzzles are okay. Um, it's kind of like a Metroidvania in that you go between places to figure out where to go and where to use your new abilities to get to those new places. The only problem I have with Carrion, along with the really few bad puzzles there, is there's no map, you know? What kind of a Metroidvania game doesn't have a map? But yeah, that's another game that when I finished it and got all the upgrades and did all the optional puzzles and stuff, there just wasn't really anything to go back to. I do praise like the concept, you know, it's a very unique game. I it's been a while since I played something like that. Um, if I were to give a final score for that game, it would probably be like a maybe a 7 at best. It's a pretty interesting game. Playing as a monster is never a common thing in video games, but for what it was worth, it was fun enough. The first couple of hours were a little hard just because you were so small. You start out small and like the enemies never miss, you know. Hit you a couple times and you're dead, you know. It makes you feel more afraid to like face the humans than it is for them to face you. That's just me though. Anyway, tell me why. I like this game a lot more than I thought it was going to. It's not every day that I really love playing like, you know, a point and click interactive movie style game where you just go around and collect stuff and alter the storyline. Tell Me Why is about two twins who have this amazing supernatural power to like hear like think each other's thoughts and kind of like communicate between them like you know kind of like The Shining. It's about the two twins trying to figure out why their mother snapped mentally. I don't really want to spoil anything, but one of the characters is transgender, and it kind of makes you think that like a lot of the people in their lives feel uncomfortable because of that transition, so to speak. And it really gives you a new perspective on that whole matter. It didn't really feel political. It felt more personal than political, in my opinion. It really did a good job of kind of immersing you in those two characters. Tell Me Why would probably get like an 8 out of 10 for me. My only two big complaints about it is that the pacing is kind of off. There's a couple puzzles in between there that kind of slows down the pacing of the game, you know. You have to like stop and think, after just witnessing something in the story. There are a couple things that felt out of place, and also the facial animations were not that great, you know. Like even in the saddest of scenes, their faces would be like just like you'd see tears coming down their face, but their face would just be like with a tear coming down. But yeah, Tell Me Why, 8 out of 10. Good game. I have to say, like, Don't Nod. They're pretty good at what they do in terms of writing their stories, you know. I was a big fan of Life is Strange 1. Um, I also like Before the Storm, which was like the prequel to Life is Strange. I haven't got around to Life is Strange 2 yet. I heard it wasn't as good. Maybe I'll get that when it goes on sale. And then lastly, This is a game that you don't really beat per se, but I've tried a little bit of everything minus the online multiplayer. Obviously, because I don't have Ultimate. I just had the regular Game Pass. Hotshot Racing. This is a racing game that, visually at least, it's like a throwback to like those old arcade style 3D racing games like Daytona USA or Virtual Racing. Maybe what was that other one? World Championships. I can't think of it. There was another racing series on Sega Saturn I remember growing up with as a kid. Championship Racing, whatever it's called. I don't know. I'll have to look it up. Yeah, it's kind of like that. It implements a lot of drifting, and it does a really good job at controlling the drift. And the more you drift, the more you boost up your boost bars. That wasn't intentional. And you use your boost bars to get a boost. There's a few different modes. There's the Grand Prix mode, which is basically you just race in 4 different races to place in each event, and it's Grand Prix. It's like Mario Kart. There's also just the regular arcade where you just race, reach the checkpoints in time. And then we have the Cops and Robbers, which I couldn't really get into. I'm not really a big fan of the whole like converting one team into the other and like that kind of sort of elimination. Can't really get into it. You also can't really choose who to side with at the start of the race. I think I enjoy playing as the robber more. There's more at stake when you're a robber. When you're a cop, it's just not really that fun because in order to convert the other racers, you gotta like crash into them a lot. Basically, you have to blow their cars up for their cars to turn into cop cars. Um, yeah. And then lastly, there's Drive or Explode, which I actually enjoy. The farther you get in a race, the faster you have to keep your speed. You do get your car health back moderately through checkpoints. Um, and it's a pretty exhilarating experience, the Drive or Explode. So I like the Drive or Explode. I like the regular arcade. I don't really like the Cops and Robbers. And I don't really like the Grand Prix either, just because of how aggressive the AI can be in that mode. It feels a lot more competitive than your regular casual arcade modes, at least in my opinion. The difficulty seems different. It's hit or miss with me, but overall it's pretty good. I actually kind of hated it when I first tried it, but the more I learned how to actually play it properly, the more I kind of enjoyed it. And there's a lot of customization options for each racer's car. Each racer has like 4 different vehicles that do something differently. You got a balanced car, a car that accelerates a lot, a fast car, or a car that drifts really well. So overall, pretty good. I would probably give Hotshot Racing like a 7 maybe. I heard the online was kind of dead, which is really unfortunate. I would have liked to play with other people. I really regret not paying an extra 5 for the Ultimate. If I had known I had played a couple of these games that had multiplayer plus the co-op in Wasteland 3, I probably would have bought Ultimate, but my priority was literally to just play through Wasteland 3, in case I needed that whole month to play through it once. While we're on the subject of Wasteland 3, I went back a couple times in between games. I started a Supreme Jerk playthrough, which started out okay, but like I got to a point where when I hit level 10 or 11, there weren't really any missions to kind of grind my character up to like reach the required levels of the other missions. There's kind of a scaling problem with Wasteland 3 that I forgot to mention in my review. Also, on Supreme Jerk, they state that it's remotely not even fair, and it kind of is not fair. How the enemy HPs, like their hit points are like bullet sponges now. So it's not really difficult in a good way. It does feel more unfair. It's not something you should be proud of as a developer. So I think you should nerf it just a little bit. If you can, I should be able to beat it on Supreme Jerk, but I would have to buy another month at least, or buy the game outright. They also seem to patch out most of the crashing, so the game hardly crashes now, but there's like more bugs. Like the patch caused even more bugs. You know, like moving in the T pose and invisible enemies now, like there was in the PS3 version of XCOM. What the hell, guys? Like I enjoy the game. It's a pretty fun game overall, but like I'm not going to buy your game. I'm not going to want to own it unless you can eventually fix it to where it's like fully playable, you know? It's a little disappointing. But yeah, that's also my extended thoughts of Wasteland 3, I guess. So yeah, I guess that's it, guys. This might be an ongoing thing next year, like instead of buying new games at $60 because I'm not going to have that much money, man. I'm planning on buying a car really soon. I don't have money to spare on games. But if I can spend like $10, you know, like throughout 2021, you know, a couple of times on games that I really want to play that come out on Game Pass, I'll probably just do that instead of buying new games outright. So you might actually see more of these um Game Pass compilation reviews, whatever you want to call it, throughout next year. Um, yeah. All right, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Coming up next, I might have a review of the new free-to-play RPG, Genshin Impact. I hear it's supposed to be like heavily inspired off Breath of the Wild, so I gotta check that out. And of course, there's one more video with Zach I'm going to be uploading. Maybe tomorrow or the next day. We'll see. Anyway, guys, stay tuned. There's more content coming up. And as always, again, thank you very much for watching.